Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Racing, Pacing and Chasing. I'm Claire Lindop and I'm your host today as Aaron Baines decided to go to Mildura for a race. Rocky, why aren't you driving with him to Mildura tonight?
Well, it's 44 outside, Claire, and I had no intention of going to Mildura today, but to his credit, he thinks he's got a winner and he's taken the journey all by himself. I have been with him a couple of times and I'm not sure he'll go on the journey home because I've driven for 20 minutes at a time for him that's turned him about 4.5 hours and he sits next to me snoring. So no, don't know how he's going to go on the journey home. He got home about 3 o'clock in the morning.
It is a bit cooler in the evening when they'll be racing at Mildura. So good luck to Aaron Bain, Albatross Lass, ridden by Danielle Hill. By the time this goes to air, we'll know whether he won or lost. So good luck.
Good luck to him.
Thank you for joining us on our racing program where we look at all three codes. And it's brought to us each and every week by the Prince Albert Hotel. Great little pub right in the heart of Gawler.
Yeah, Richard and Stacey do a great job there. Matty Knighty does some work for us. He works there as part of their marketing team, and it's just a tiny little pub, but they're doing a really good job now with the competition that's in that little town with about a dozen hotels. So, and we thank them, of course, coming on board in a big way for us this year.
It really becomes the heart of the community, doesn't it?
Yep.
The local pub.
Too right.
So this Saturday we've got racing at Morphettville. We've got a couple of the racing, pacing, chasing team horses racing.
We have.
We found Aaron Bain actually found Raging Queen last week.
Took a lot of research to find that one, didn't it?
And it's racing again this Saturday. Races in race 7. And we've also got the Stuart Pabin trained Debt Collector and Flop clashing in the same race.
Well, you picked Debt Collector out a couple of weeks ago. That was a lovely run. Come from a long way back for Stuart Padman, and Flop's been one of mine for ages, and he won at $17 3 or 4 starts ago, but he is a bit of a non-winner. But we'll see how those two go side by side on Saturday. I know that Flop will look the winner at some stage, but I don't know whether it can beat Debt Collector. Yeah,
I just think Morphettville Park, this Saturday, the 1400 metres might bring Debt Collector undone. So we'll just see how that pans out, but Flop's more value, so have a look at that race yourself. And also we've got on the race meeting, Miss LaBelle, which was John O'Connor's winner, and he's on a trail in the same race. And I probably, the fresh horse on the scene is probably Miss LaBelle. Exotic Trail may need this run. It's had a few weeks between runs, so look for you on the backup.
Well, you picked that a long time ago, Claire, and it's probably had 5 or 6 runs since then, and I think it's won at least one of them, but certainly placed and been a good run in all of them.
It's been a 3-wide no cover a couple of times.
It has, and deservedly so, but Grant gets his horses going really well, doesn't he?
Yeah, he tends to find, run 3 or 4 races in a row and then give them a little bit of a space. So interesting to see how it goes on Saturday, but maybe look for it on the backup again. But let's get straight into the racing show. Sponsored each week by the Gawler and Barossa Jockey Club, led by Shane Collins, who obviously continues to do a great job for the club.
Yeah, he's become a good friend of ours since they come on board as a sponsor, and we look forward to doing a bit more with Shane over the next 12 months. It'll be good.
The outside of what a win. Winks got up and beat Ormond and Worthy Cause.
And we're back with the racing, pacing and chasing. Looking at general news, over the weekend I was at Vignerons Cup Day at Strathalbyn. Had a great day out there, doing a best presented prize for each race. And it was actually Strapper's prize that went straight to the Strap, which I think is fantastic to include all the workers. They do a great job turning horses out. It was pretty stiff actually, good competition.
Yeah, they started a bit of that over the carnival in Melbourne, didn't they? And I thought that was terrific that they started to recognise the strappers and the horses, how they're presented. And your picks that you whacked up on Facebook all day were terrific, you know. And
thanks to Chris and the club for having me. Vignerons Day, fantastic day. Aguilette, John McMillan won the cup, and probably I thought Christy Evans' horse Mayville Josephine out of the race was probably one for her to put in her RPC team, I think.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, but locals dominated the day. David Jolly had a good day. Grant Klasky and John McMillan, obviously, I said he had a double with Strike and Style and Aguilette winning the cup. And D Jolly has a runner on Saturday called She's Never Late, which I think we should put in the RPC table as well.
Put in the stable.
Yeah.
Any time to play on Sunday, Claire, or was it all work?
I had a couple of nice little glasses of vino.
Good.
Don't mind my vino.
Now, Newcastle last Saturday, Claire, I'd like to get your opinion. There was just a mass outpouring of punter emotions on a horse in Newcastle, one of their main races on the day. It was back from 6s into $3.80, so punters tend to talk a whole lot louder when they lose their money. It was a horse called Outrageous, $3.40 favourite from Team Hawks. you've had a look at the race as well. What do you think from a jockey perspective there?
Look, it does look ugly when you watch a race, but just interestingly enough, if you're watching the race from a jockey's point of view, look, he's ended up, the speed probably went on more than what he thought. Out of the gates, he took a little bit of a sit, probably ended back a pair further back than what he may have intended to. But he was following Josh Parr in the run. Probably thought he was following the right horse, which eventually ran second. And actually, if you look where in the straight he was angling, it did look like Josh Parr was going to roll out and give him a run outside of the leader, Kathy O'Hara, who was tiring. Interestingly enough, that Kathy O'Hara, the rider of the leader, when she actually pulls the stick through to her left hand to try and help her horse out and change legs, she actually strikes Josh Parr's mount on the nose.
Right.
And I just wonder if that has influenced the way his horse...
So you think that might have just gone out half a metre or so when that young fella thought, well, I can get through there.
And then he rolled back and straightened up. And I just wonder if that sort of, as a jockey, you're trying to read the play in front of you, and he might have read the horse correctly, and that little bit of, racing got interference. He ended up having no luck at all and went to the line hard held. So I guess all I can do is put Outrageous in the RPC one to follow.
We definitely will. In that situation, though, Claire, as a jockey, like his focus obviously was getting that gap between the two leaders, and that closes up, and as pure punters and spectators we can see that big gap on over his left shoulder. When you're riding and your focus is straight away into taking that gap, can your mind take you to where that next gap will be, or your focus stays the same, or is that just a confidence thing and an experience thing?
Well, I do agree with you that perhaps a little bit of experience. He was aiming for one gap and rode for that gap, and perhaps he should have kept his options open. But he was probably too committed to that ground. He would have actually had to switch ground around Josh Parr's mount, which he actually had to come back anyway. But by that time, he was having to drag back so far, he'd lost momentum and really the bird had flown. So he would have had to come back length and a half, and after already stoking his mount up, Outrageous, to take that run, the momentum's sort of there, he's going for the gap closes, he's disappointed for the run. It's actually very hard to change course. In that manner.
And just one last thing before we get into segments. The last day of the carnival in Melbourne
Sandown Classic
goes to Sandown, and they call it the Sandown Classic, or the Zipping Classic, whatever they want to call it now. To me, it's like a half a yawn festival where they've got horses out from the UK or France that haven't been able to win a race, and here's your last throw at the stumps, and there might be some money on the end of it for you. And
do we all have a bit of fatigue? The spring carnival was sort of going for so long, and I don't know, like, I love the meeting. I think it's an iconic race meeting, and I do feel like perhaps it's an avenue for the actual industry. Out of the Melbourne Cup, we've seen horses go on and race on now. We had Magic Wand win on Emirates Day, and Southern France won at Sandown on the weekend. And it does actually give them another run, so it's not just the Melbourne Cup or bust, which I think is a great thing for our industry. Maybe it just needs a rebrand and a refresh. I just think that everyone's so time poor this day and age that we probably, we want the next thing, and I guess racing's not like that. So
could they end it there at Flemington and say, we've had the Caulfield Carnival, the Melbourne Carnival, and now the Summer Carnival starts, and it's going to be, and Sandown is the opening.
Maybe push it out another week. So rebrand it, come back in December. I like the way you're thinking.
I'm good at that sort of stuff. Follow through is a little bit harder for me, Claire.
But I think maybe it does need a rebrand, refresh. I mean, everything. We talk about history and iconic, and you wouldn't move the Melbourne Cup, but therefore, what does that happen to other carnivals around it, and how do you make the most as a club?
We've thrown our Adelaide Cup around a few times, haven't we?
Yeah, not quite so successfully. That's next year's show.
Yeah, that's right.
But let's just take a little moment, and we'll thank our sponsors. We're sponsored by Punt Club, which is a great app that you can download on your phone. You get some friends together and start a syndicate, and they'll manage that for you.
That's
so
right.
You don't have to chase anyone to put in their $5 for your syndicate. It's already done for you. When someone's turn to have a bet, the money goes straight back into the account, so you don't forget. And I think it's a really great little club to get involved with. So check out Punt Club.
Ladies in Racing, we've got two coming up soon. We've got a interview with you and Liz from Equestrian World. That'll be interesting to see. We're talking about rehoming there, so I'm looking forward to having a listen to that as well.
Ladies in Racing magazine. Good idea for a Christmas present for someone in your life. Subscription at the moment for 2 years. You can also win a $300 ambassador travel voucher. So get online and check out that subscription. Great Christmas present idea.
Let's have a look at 3 Wide No Cover,
race 7 last Saturday, Star Status, first time over a journey.
Yep.
Unfortunately, he goes into our 3 wide, no cover. He's been a bit of a favourite of racing, pacing, chasing. We followed him. But Jerry Chow, I'd just like to, on a side note, send out a cheerio to both Jerry Chow, who's had a fall last week, although he's back riding this week. But he missed out in the ride in Star Status, and Gary Lowe took the ride. So perhaps being thrown in the deep end didn't necessarily help Gary Lowe here.
Well, it's his first time over the journey as well, so 16 to 1950, it's sometimes hard to get him to settle, isn't it? So, and maybe it didn't, he took off 3 wide just a fraction early, but the horse stayed there until probably 100 to go, it was still boxing on for 3rd. So yeah, I think that's a good selection to go in there, Claire.
Well, hopefully he'll bounce back for the RPC team, but check out the replay now.
But they did pick up the tempo. These front 3 have gone from a long way from home. Star Status, Retrato, Corridon the inside, Dollar Bills at every chance. Set to Cruise comes out. Then Star Sun Exalted D. Alcarni not picking up at the moment. 400 metres to go. Now hitting the lead, Retrato. Star Status still there. Corridon struggling. Dollar Bills trying to work into the clear. Then Set to Cruise. Star Sun down the middle. Inside the 2. It's in front, Retrato from Star Status, running on out wide, Set to Cruise. Dollar Bill back to the inside, 100 out. Retrato still going well. Dollar Bill trying from Set to Cruise. Retrato will win again. He is a nice horse.
Racing, pacing, chasing back with now within the money, thanks to Gerard's horse products. Gerard's been involved with racing game for many years. Always be happy to sponsor the industry.
I have, and they've come on board with us and given us some vouchers for our guests that come on board. So the first one might go to your equestrian guest maybe later on. But they've given us $10, $50 vouchers, which is fantastic. Always happy to sponsor.
Fantastic, thank you, Gerard. That's awesome. So we're always on the lookout for the horses to follow.
Yep. And
last Saturday, I thought that Be My Star was pretty eye-catching, trained by Will Clark and ridden by Kayla Crowther in race 8.
Pretty eye-catching. You just said before they don't come from the rear at Morphettville Parks and win, and it was 2 lengths behind the second last horse at the top of the straight, Claire.
Yeah, you check out the replay for yourself here.
Names the race. Pale Ale makes ground the rail. Thompson's Reward and Tiara Star hook out deep. Then Heaven's Deal and Be My Star. Domination's run this hard. He's got the top weight. He kicked away by 2. Here are the closers though. Tiara Star, Thompson's Reward down the middle. Then Be My Star. It's Tiara Star, Thompson's Reward. Be My Star still coming. They're driving to the line. Oh, Be My Star's had one last dip.
And that's in the money for this week. Big shout out to our sponsors of the show, Prince Albert Hotel Gawler, Punt Club, Ladies in Racing Magazine, Gawler Jockey Club, Gerard's, Fleuro Milk Co, Slow Tours, Sports Centre, Southern Trophies with Darren Rutherford, Peter Page Holden, MGA Insurance Brokers and Steve McAnee, our Murder Station, and a big thanks to Adam from Sports Centre for becoming a premium sponsor. We hope you enjoyed our racing show.
Thank you.
Racing, pacing, chasing guest tonight, Liz Barbaro. Thank you so much for joining us on the show.
That's okay, my pleasure.
We had you out at Gawler doing a little bit of the interviews out in the crowd at Gawler Cup Day, so it's really great that we finally got you on the show. Look, we'd love to find out a little bit more about what you do. So your business is Tribal Equine. You're based at Globe Derby. Seems like there's a whole range of things which your business involves with.
Yeah.
Do you want to just tell a brief overview what you do?
It just seems to keep expanding by the day sometimes, I think. So we do basically everything and anything to your floats, caravans and trailers.
Yep.
We build indoor stables, etc. All of that. Anything to do with horses, literally.
You've been riding all your life?
I have, yeah. Yes. So I also have basically like a re-education program, and I do breaking as well with horses. So
So you competed in shows?
Throughout most of my life, on and off throughout the years as things go. We don't always get a consistent run. But most of my life I've been competing in the show rings. So
do you remember the first time you ever rode a horse? Can you actually remember?
Actually,
I do.
Yes. Yeah. So we had a big stable complex on the old Golden Grove Road down there called Yarramalong, and I was on the back of my dad's big grey and Misty. and
Not
I'm
so
being
frequent.
led. I know, has to be. If it's a grey, it's got to be Misty.
Yes.
And I'm being led, and there's like my older sister. She's a couple of years older than me, and she's out jumping, and I'm like begging Dad, can I go do that as well?
Yes.
And Dad's going, no, you're too little. Well, later that day, where am I? Out on another one, trying to jump, failed. But it's the best memory because it was with my dad not being around anymore.
Yeah.
It's one of those few things that we can
Oh,
always
yeah,
look
how
at.
lovely.
And,
Do you know the first time you fell off was the same day?
Yes, same day. Yeah. Take the good with the bad.
You got straight back on. Of course.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's the only way to do
Yeah.
it.
So I guess we're talking particularly tonight about rehoming racehorses and rehoming standardbreds. Typically, you would get a horse off the track. Is there sort of a time frame that you would sort of say a horse might take to retrain, or what's the first step you do when you get a horse off the track?
Every horse I get, I quite literally pick them up and I just pop them out in a yard for about a week.
Okay.
And I just feed them on cool feed, generally meadow hay.
Yes, yeah. Because obviously when they're in racing condition, they're
They-
fed the
yeah.
high, the best grain you can possibly get. They're really, top condition. Probably sometimes nearly too fit for equestrian riders.
Yeah, I mean, for what they're doing, they're
Yeah.
spot on with where and what
Yeah.
they need to be. But to be able to, work with them to re-educate them to go off to another field, they need to just cool and chill down a bit, which is nothing wrong with that.
So if a racehorse, for example, we're training them to gallop the best they can. A lot of our work goes into their action and how they can actually lengthen their stride. How does that translate to equestrian, and what sort of agility do they need to work on to move into another field?
Still quite similar in many aspects, really. We need, so for me, I have a lot of body work done on the horses in that first 1 to 2 weeks when they come to me.
Yeah.
From
It sounds good.
chiropractic
Iron
work.
out all those nicks,
Yeah,
and grannies, kinks,
so they've
sore
got a loose
muscles.
body,
Yes.
so they're not tight. If they've got any soreness issues, because there's no point in me, starting to work with them if they can't move freely.
Okay.
And then once we get that done, I then move on and we start with, the next step, which is if it's a thoroughbred, looking at, doing some saddle time with them. If it's a standardbred, introducing the saddle.
Yeah, right.
So, it's very different with both of them.
So is it more challenging to retrain a horse that's already trained in a discipline than actually starting with that blank canvas and breaking in a
In
new
many
horse?
ways, yes.
Okay.
Because they come with a history.
Yeah.
They've been trained and they've been very well trained for, maybe it might only be 6 months or a year or 5 years to work in one manner.
Okay. Undo all the bad habits.
I wouldn't call them bad habits.
And the jockeys or the drivers.
I wouldn't say that. But, they've been trained so well to do what they were doing that you've literally got to sort of go, okay, well, forget everything you know.
Yeah.
And now listen to me.
Okay.
And you've got to get their mind and their body in the right spot to be able to do that first.
Yeah, that's interesting. That's one of the challenges I see with rehoming racehorses is that it's not as easy as just giving that horse off.
It's not.
And we think, they're quiet horse, they'll be fine to ride, but it's a different type of riding, isn't
It's a very different type. I mean, as a jockey, as a jockey, you're sitting up here, you're hovering over the top of them. But as, throughout the other areas of equestrian, we're sitting on their back. We're wrapping our legs around them.
Yes.
And they're things that a lot of the time they've not really known that communication.
Yes.
And, we're not saying, here's the reins, let's go. We're going, no, come back and let's work together.
About being
basically.
collected and using different muscles.
It's an entire different thing.
Yeah.
So.
And what about for a rider? So obviously you're very well schooled, you've been riding all your life and riding all different types of horses. For a rider who's perhaps only ridden ponies, what's the difference do you see? And do they retraining to ride a racehorse?
I have a little bit of a rule. If somebody's only ever ridden ponies, I won't put them on an ex-racehorse.
That's interesting.
Mostly because...
Until you've trained them properly.
And then that rider, I want to have some time between me and that rider with that horse.
Okay, so you'll match up a rider with a horse.
Yeah, I've had quite a few where I've said, okay, come have a few rides, let's do a few lessons, and then I've gone, you and this horse are not suitable together. And it's nothing against the horse or that rider, and then I've said, I think you'd be
Personality
better off
clash.
on, you know, something a bit smaller or something without that racing history. Because they're not suited to every rider.
And each horse does have that individual temperament.
Absolutely. Every horse is completely different.
Which is interesting. and do you often find they take time to adjust from being in a stable to being in a paddock environment?
I have some that they can't tolerate being out in a big open yard.
Yeah, see, I find that interesting because we always assume that an animal will be happier.
They have too much anxiety being out in a large open space. So I'll start them in a more confined stable.
It's like
and then move them out.
It's like a footballer who was once, king of the leader of the team. Everyone wanted to be with him. Then all of a sudden he's retired. No one sees him anymore. He gets
nobody wants nothing to do with him. They walk past him and don't even acknowledge him.
So they want that attention. They want that everyday contact. And they're like, why aren't I?
Why aren't I special anymore?
Exactly. So that's interesting. It affects mental health.
It does. And some of them, they won't even eat hay for the first, maybe half a week until they get, to the sort of really searching for more food because their racing feeding schedule was very limited hay.
Okay.
So you've got all those issues to work with, and then you've got some that won't load in floats with ease or travel with ease, or when you take them to a tie-up rail, they become very anxious. So
this is a really good model that you're doing here with Travel Equine. It's fantastic. Retraining the horses and passing it on. And just talking back on that mental health, tell us a little bit more about the equine therapy that you do. I'm very interested to hear what you do.
I do. We also do adult and child equine therapy or animal therapy. So between our collection of very loving animals we have at home, like we've got a pet cow and a goat and rabbits as well and dog, and then the horses. I have a range of clients from children through to adults with different conditions it might be anxiety, PTSD. It might range
autism.
from disabilities with autism, behavioural disabilities with ADHD, and each of them are also very different in what they want to do and are willing to do in respects of they might say, I want to ride, but they'll never get on a horse.
Okay.
They're too scared to. And that's fine because they find that grounding space in just being around them. Okay. They might brush them, lead them around, sit and have their lunch with them.
Yeah. And they find their own...
Every person, child or adult, finds their own little happy medium of what brings them that grounding that they're after.
Yeah. Oh wow, that must be very rewarding, but challenging.
It is.
I suppose
It's very challenging, but there's more rewards. I've got to make sure that the horses I use for it are
receptive.
Very. They must be, very in tune to the environment. So I never don't like using the word bomb-proof, but they've got to be pretty close.
Yeah.
They must be, very accepting of different situations that also take place, because a child with autism might suddenly start to have an oversensory moment and may not be able to handle the situation, the environment or whatever it is, and might start screaming or throwing things around, which is a common occurrence. And the horse or the pony that I'm using has to accept it.
Yeah, that's amazing, isn't it?
So it's taken a long time to get all my animals that I use to that level.
Yeah.
So
that's exciting. I think it'll probably something being explored even more. So well done.
It's awesome. I love it.
And you also teach students to ride.
Yes.
Do they bring their own horse, or can you teach them on your horses?
Some bring their own. Some are not in financial positions to be able to afford their own or their own equipment. So we completely use everything of mine. I've got some who are from situations where financially they couldn't even afford an entry fee to a competition.
Okay.
So
sponsoring riders as well at Travel.
We sponsor quite a few riders, and everyone's from different.
And do they have to muck out the stables and earn
No, they've just got to be good souls.
Okay.
So, but we have some that are just part of what we call our tribal family, because they're such a good soul of a rider and a family, and then we have some others who are in financial positions that they could never afford to do something like this. So it varies, you know, what I do.
Oh, that's fantastic. And so how do people look you up?
On Facebook.
Okay.
That's the easiest way.
Yeah,
on Facebook and Instagram.
Okay.
So, yeah, we're there.
Very good. Well, that's fantastic. It's given a little bit of insight about what you do. And I really love the idea of rehoming all racehorses and the standardbreds as well. So congratulations on what you do there.
Thank you.
Welcome to Racing, Pacing, Chasing, and it's the pacing segment. I'm Rocky Butterworth, usually joined by Aaron Bain, but Aaron is on his way to Mildura tonight, hopefully to get a win on the board with his horse Alcatraz Lass. So I'll quickly go through the show tonight. Sponsored by the Prince Albert Hotel, of course, in Gawler. Been massive sponsors of us since inception. And Maddie Knight, one of our young up-and-comers, works there as well, and we're grateful for their sponsorship. Just on local harness racing news this week, we thank Gawler Racing Club as well, and look forward to getting out there once they start racing, which may be sooner than later. We've been hearing things with the new board that Gawler may be getting as many as 25 metres a year. If that happens, it'll be fantastic. From a point of view where my horse is stable, that'll be just down the road, but I think harness racing needs to get back to Gawler. The quicker the better, and there's a lot of trainers out that side of town, so it's pretty easy to get to, and nice big 900 metre track, so we look forward to getting out to Gawler soon. And of course Aaron's dad Peter is the president of Gawler Club, so we hope they get nice strong fields, and the club becomes very, very successful in the Gawler region, which is already going very well with the Jockey Club and the Greyhounds. We've got the Inter-Dominion coming up in the next week or so. It's Australasia's premier event. Starts in New Zealand this time, and maybe only enough horses for 2 heats in both pacers and trotters divisions of the Inter-Dominion, but that should make for better punting, I would have thought. If there's 2 heats of 12 both nights, there won't be so many odds-on favourites that we do get generally in the 3 heats of 9 or 10. These will be 2 strong 12-horse fields. Of course, the Perd and Rasmussen stable will be there in force. They'll have 5 of the top fancies in the series, but there'll be strong opposition around the place as well. And finally, in the news, everyone knows I like to take the credit for our guests who seem to find a winner after coming in on the show. John O'Connor in the last episode we had for the Thoroughbreds came in and his horse won at $8 last time. We had Gary Searle on Gawler Cup meeting. Of course, Gary trained a winner out there as well. And we've had Ryan Rohorick on in the last couple of weeks, and Ryan has bounced back to form with 4 horses that he trained and drove on Monday afternoon, which is a fantastic effort. And of course, RPC take full credit for Ryan's change in form and getting back into the winners list in a big way. Want to go into our first section, 3 wide no cover. 3 wide no cover brought to us by MGA Insurance Brokers, Steve McInerney. Steve's about a 1-minute call to get him on board as a sponsor of these types of shows in racing and football, etc. So we thank Steve for seeing the way through to be a major sponsor for 3 wide no cover. I had a look on Monday afternoon at Globe Derby, and I thought in race 9, number 11, Alexander Greenwood. He had to settle second last. He drew wide, of course, in the second row and went back with David Smith on board. He had no choice, and then came 3 wide on his own from the 900 metres, and he worked pretty hard. I think they were in a sub-30 quarter along the back, and he was out 3 wide and working to the death. He'd tied on his run. He'd had enough at the 120, but still kept on plugging away and got within a metre of the winner, who had kicked away. And I thought it was a terrific run. It was $14, I think, in the markets, but he's ready to win, and we'll have a look at the closing stage of that race right now.
She will tippy-toe the last 50 metres. I want to rock and roll, but she's got a good lead. She's holding on by 6 metres. Alexander Greenwood can't catch it, nor can Go-Go Shikari. British General's getting into the clear, but he's not running on good enough. I want to rock and roll. She is tippy-toeing, but she's going to hold on, I think. Oh, she's really walking. She fell in. I want to rock and roll. Beat Alexander Greenwood, Go-Go Shikari, British General.
And of course, thanks to MGA Insurance Brokers for their support of 3 wide no cover. And now we move on to In the Money. In the money's brought to us by the Gawler Harness Racing Club each and every week. Always on the lookout for horses to keep following. Again, this week we reckon we've found one. Globe Derby on Monday. We just spoke about Ryan having 4 winners on the day, and I narrowed it down. I thought his best victory and the most impressive was Better Vision. It had only been with Ryan since late September, so he's done a terrific job with it, and you'll find even more improvement over the next couple of weeks with this horse. Settled back in the field, came from 7 on the front row, went forward and then had to go back and settled 1 out, 2 back. Sprinted really sharply for this class of field and won by about 17 metres. And as I said, Ryan's only had the horse for about 5 or 6 weeks, and to get that sort of result, and the horse's form wasn't great when it came down from Queensland, so he's done a terrific job. And I say follow Better Vision with a lot of confidence going forward in the next 5 or 6 weeks. And we'll have a look at the vision of race 2 at Globe Derby on Monday.
Glenferrie Bunter here by 2 metres on Assassinator, now angling off and going around 3 wide. Better Vision with a turn of speed takes over Garunging now and got clear by 4 metres on Glenferrie Bunter. 5 metres then to the Dabadong, Corey O'Donoghue. Black Warrior angles off, then we go back to Mac Cruiser and Assassinator at the tail. Up to the turn, Better Vision with a massive turn of speed is cleared by 13 metres on Glenferrie Bunter, trying hard in second. Then we go back to the Dabadong, back behind those Black Warrior, but Better Vision is clear and Better Vision bolts in. Second will be Glenferrie Bunter in front of the Dabadong, Black Warrior. Then we go back to Mac Cruiser, Corey O'Donoghue.
And that's our In the Money for this week with Ryan to follow. And now we're on to Driver of the Week, thanks to the Kapunda Harness Racing Club. Driver of the Week this week was actually pretty hard to find. We didn't have the show last week with a little break after the Melbourne Cup Carnival. So I've gone back a couple of meetings and I've found young Corey Johnson. I've given him 3 votes for his drive on the Octagon. That night he came from barrier 7, he had to go back. He waited until he got 3 wide cover before he made his move, and he was too strong late that night. And Corey, to his credit, has got a really good habit of driving long shot winners, and this one was no exception, started at $66. So we've given 3 votes to Corey Johnson for a good patient drive on the Octagon to wait for cover and then come wide and win the race. 2 votes I've given to Danny Hill. This was on Monday afternoon, a winning drive on Indiana Dreaming. The horse has only got a very, very short sprint. Danny had to wait, and the horse doesn't like to rush off the mobile as well, so she just let the horse come out under its own steam and be happy. Settled back, I think 1 out, 2 back, 1 out, 3 back, and caught the winner on the line. But I think if she'd gone 15-20 minutes earlier, metres earlier, the horse would have fought back and beaten Indiana Dreaming. So she's timed the run to perfection, and I'll give her the credit for that and give her 2 votes this week for the in the Driver of the Week section, and 1 vote again to Brodie Webster, who again a couple of weeks ago he had Grey Maverick, who drew the pole and probably knew that the Ides of March would head him off, but he hunted Grey Maverick out of the gate just to make sure that he could get the favourites back. And the horse settled pretty well for him. He's usually a puller, but he settled pretty well. Ides of March got tired at the top of the straight, and Grey Maverick was able to sprint on the inside and win. And I gave Brodie another vote, and he's driving pretty well at the moment, Brodie, so he gets the 1 vote for his drive on Grey Maverick. That's our Drive of the Week section. We finish up with the trial file. Aaron's not here, so I'm going to finish with one of his horses, and one that I own actually, called Eyes Down and Looking. We got it from New Zealand quite some time ago. I think it's had maybe at least 1 birthday since we've had it and haven't got it to the track. It's trialling pretty well, so for our viewers, without the bias involved of being Aaron and my horse, I think the horse is going very well, and we'll hopefully get a win or 2 pretty early in its preparation. So our trial file for this week is Eyes Down and Looking. So that's it for the pacing section this week. Sorry it was a solo effort, but Aaron, as I said, has gone off to Mildura. He'll be back next week to run the show as he usually does, and look forward to seeing you next week. Welcome to the chasing section of Racing, Pacing, Chasing. Again, without Aaron Bain here to run the show tonight, and Benny Rawlings, who's unavailable tonight, our co-host and SAS top trainer, but Benny's been good enough to give us a couple to follow. So I'll just quickly run through those before we do a big greyhound show next week with the whole team back together. The run of the week, which was supplied, as I said, by Benny, was a dog called Corborn Terry. It ran a very quick time of 34.63 over the 600 metres on Monday night at Angle Park. Benny thinks they'll have a go with this dog over the 7:30 journey very soon. It'll be interesting to see if he can handle the extra journey or not, but certainly very impressive, and we'll follow Corborn Terry and put him into the RPC kennel as well for future races. And to back up Benny's thoughts of the potential of this dog and why it's in the RPC kennel, we'll have a look at its replay on Monday the 18th of November at Angle Park, and enjoy the win.
But it's tearing away, Corborn Terry, out by 7 or 8 over Waikiki Big Girl. This is stretched on for a big win. Corborn Terry wins it by 6. Matty Matu second, third home.
And the second dog to follow comes from Benny's own yard, actually. He's given us one of his own called Kisses for Chloe. It ran the fastest time of the 6 heats for the Brian Johnston Memorial, which he was very confident the dog would go very well. It was a first try at the 500 metre trip, and the only thing he was a bit worried about was actually seeing the journey out with some kind of strength, and it ran a time of 29.87 for its first trip over the 500, so it was a very, very good effort for that. Ben's confident the dog will be worth backing in the near future, so we'll keep following Kisses for Chloe as well, and whack that in the ABR kennel watch as well. We'll have a look at the replay of Angle Park Race 9 on Wednesday the 13th. Of Kisses for Chloe winning her heat in 29.87.
Moving up to eyeball it, a couple away, Cuddles Lee, and then Aston Midori. They're up to the turn. Mr. Mufasa ranging up the Jervois boy who's lifting. Mr. Mufasa doing enough. Mr. Mufasa first. Jervois boy second. Cuddles Lee third. Then.
And that's it for Racing, Pacing, Chasing for this week. And of course, we thank Sean Nowak out at the Gawler Dogs for his sponsorship of the chasing section. Hope we found you some winners for the next week or so coming up. Keep watching RPC. Got some terrific people analysing the races for us, and have a bit of fun here as well. Full team back on deck next week, and we'll see you then.